DIY Tinder tubes. For a class of 30 students, it was a pretty penny to go buy some, so I figured to make my own. Using resources found around me, as well as a pipe cutter, we were able to come up with something like this that works really well. These are Genesis Easton arrows, and we cut them down to length. We were able to buy natural or source natural jute cordage, and we were able to make our own piece. Now, if you go and buy a Tinder tube, it's going to be provided with waxed jute string. This isn't waxed. This is for classroom demonstrations. I'll end up having 250 students run through this, so I just needed something to give them that expectation to see how this whole thing would work. For the tube portion of the DIY Tinder tube, I'm using aluminum. You can use copper. If you are going to use steel, I would encourage you to source stainless steel so it doesn't react to the elements. If you've never used a pipe cutter, you slowly increase pressure and then make sure it's situated within the rollers. And then it's just a slow process. Every time you go around, you're going to make a little bit more of a mark. It's going to slowly create. I like to go back and forth both directions. For some reason, this doesn't stay on true line. Don't go too deep too quickly. Allow the blade to do the work for you. Once you have the tube that you need, make sure you deburr both ends. That's going to allow the jute to slide smoothly through and not create any hangups. From that point, cut your desired length of jute, slide it through the tube, and create a stopper knot of some kind. The benefits of a Tinder tube is it acts like a replaceable candle or an extendable candle. And so you want to have this roughly about an inch from the lip of the pipe. You're going to want to fray out all these different sections. So you're going to come in here, loosen these up. You're going to want to go against the grain. So all of this jute is just a twist twine, and those twines then wrap together. So here you just work against the grain and you kind of tease these out. You're trying to create as much surface area and as much access to oxygen as you can, especially for this first part as you're starting off. You'll end up something that looks like this. This is going to be ready to light and provide you a clean, controllable burn. You're going to need your Tinder tube, a fire striker of some kind, safety glasses. If you have long hair, I'd ask you to pull that back behind your head so that no risk of singeing your hair. And then always when you're striking a fire striker, strike away from your body and other people around you so that the sparks don't go towards somebody. I like to use a simple cooking sheet just to provide that fireproof surface. There's a couple different ways to light this at this point. You can set it down and strike it. Or I've seen people hold this out in front, and as you're kind of multitasking, holding that as well as the striker. For today, we're going to set it down so we have a little bit more control. From here, if you've never used a fire striker, it's like if you've ever punched into a punching bag, they always ask you to punch through the punching bag. The same thing happens here. You're going to apply pressure, but instead of just scraping along the surface, you want to push through the surface and then flick your wrist. Push through the surface, flick your wrist. And what that's doing is that's going to provide friction enough to peel off some of the material, and that material, as it's going, is going to reach its combustion point and create the fire that you need, or the spark that you need. So from there, get in position, one downward strike creates the flame. And as it's burning, this allows you a safe distance away from the flame. If you need to let it out, all you have to do is pull this tight into the tube, and that tube cuts off oxygen so that the flame doesn't continue to burn. And you're able to use the material later on.